Do you feel like you're in that stress response of fight or flight, that survival mode too much, either you or those that you care about? We're going to talk about that today and how trauma-informed care can help you and those that you care about. And I'm coming from the front lines to give you this information. I'm Nurse Ann. I'm a certified emergency and mental health registered nurse on the front lines for many years and still going. And I see ways that we do get in that stress response, fight or flight, that survival mode a lot, especially if we've had any history of trauma. And we're going to talk about how trauma-informed care can help you with that, because I want you to have that healing and a better life for you and those that you care about. So can trauma-informed care help you? We're going to get some facts today, and then you let me know what you think. As I said, I'm Nurse Ann on the front lines, coming today to drop you this information. So make sure you follow, subscribe, like, share. This channel is here for your inspirational wellness for mental, physical, and spiritual, to help you break out of these cycles and boxes and live a better life. So trauma-informed care, we're going to get some basic facts. Some of these that I got from was The Deepest Well, and it's an audiobook, Healing the Long-Term Effects of Childhood Adversity by Nadine Burke Harris, MD. And she was one of the pioneers in trauma-informed care, starting a clinic and going over the ACEs, which is the Adverse Childhood Experiences, and we're going to talk about those. And then finding ways to actually help the participants and their family and get that into the community, especially where it was greatly needed. So we're going to talk about trauma-informed care, the adverse childhood experiences. And in this, she also explained a lot of the brain chemistry, the neurobiology of your brain. And when you go through trauma and it's unhealed and undealt with, you know what? Even later in your life, if this trauma hasn't been dealt with, especially if it was severe, but any trauma that hasn't been dealt with can lead to trauma bonds where you always pick the same relationships, can lead you to detrimental health effects, whether you were predisposed to certain health effects or not, just from that undealt with trauma can actually lead you to have hypertension and other medical issues in your life that you don't want later. So it's important to learn about trauma and trauma-informed care. And as I said, I got this from The Deepest Well. It was really excellent, showing the facts, the neurobiology, just the precepts of trauma-informed care and how it can really help. So The Deepest Well by Nadine Burke Harris, that was really helpful for me. And as I said, she did get into the brain chemistry and how our brain actually changes the chemicals when we have so much trauma and get in that fight or flight response all the time, and just different ways we can get healing and help with that. So some of the basic, one more thing before we get into some more of the facts. If you stay to the end, there's the bonus, the prize. I'm going to read you a short action-packed chapter of my fictional drama, which you write along with the frontline workers, rescuing those in crisis of mental, physical, and spiritual. It's full of action, adventure, along with advocacy and awareness to help what you go through and those that you take care of and those in the community. And it also gets into some aspects of trauma-informed care in some of these stories. So trauma-informed care, some of the basic principles, they talk about calm, caring for people, just being there for people, having that safety, giving them the choice, collaborating with them, having that support, being trustworthy, feeling that they have somebody that they can trust when they come into the trauma-informed care therapy. And even if you don't have the official therapy, there's aspects of trauma-informed care that you can infuse into your own life and those that you care about. And some of the adverse childhood experiences, this is the test that they give out, the questionnaire. And a lot of it deals with whether the child or the family member has dealt with a lot of abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, and other. Also neglect, also physical, emotional. Whether there's a mentally ill person in the home that's significant with depression or other different things that that child or family member is witnessing and being a part of. Also, if there's a drug or alcohol addicted family member in the home. And also if the child or person has witnessed domestic violence toward their primary caregiver. And these scores add up to show them what avenue they need to go to. So if you haven't heard about trauma-informed care, check that out, and also the adverse childhood experiences, the ACEs, and just the different precepts and tenets, so that you can get some healing for yourself, so that even when you're an adult, young adult, older, you still might be making decisions based on unhealed trauma that maybe you didn't even know at the time that you went through, because we get into that survival mode, and that can carry on into, childhood, teenager, adulthood, all the way up, causing medical and mental issues that we definitely need to deal with. So this trauma-informed care can lead to better health for you. I implore you to look that up. As I said, the book, The Deepest Well, was very helpful. I'm going to also get into some of the adjuncts that they use. They really want people to get therapy. They try to get it for the child and the family as a whole, since a lot of this is generational cycles that can continue on and on. Just getting help and therapy and support for the person affected and their surrounding family and or community. They also stress a healthy diet. That's so important, because your body, mind, and spirit work together in synergy. They talk about getting the proper rest. Sleep is really important to help your brain and body heal. They also talk about meditation, journaling, having that quiet time, doing searching of your life, and using a mentor, a therapist, an advocate to help you with that. It's important to have advocates in your life that can help you with trauma and things that you haven't dealt with. So I'm going to back that up also with some of my devotionals that I wrote. As I said, I'm Nurse Ann. I'm a nurse on the front lines, certified emergency and mental health registered nurse for many years and still going. And I see so much of this. Even you can get into that stress response a lot and feel like you're in survival mode, fight or flight, where your brain chemistry can change. So I really want you and those that you love to get help, even with trauma-informed care. So I'm going to back that up. Let me get a drink of water, get one for you. I definitely want you to be healthier for your body, mind, and spirit. So in addition to being a nurse, a busy nurse on the front lines, I also wrote some devotionals along with a fictional drama to help you and be an advocate for what you go through and what others go through. So the first one today is from my mental healing poetry devotional. Don't we all need mental healing? Drop in the comments what you or someone you love needs mental healing for. And I'm going to read you a couple of these today, because in here we discuss life challenges that you go through, that others go through, along with some God-ordained courage and healing to help us turn away from those mindsets controlled by fear, to get some inspiration to step into your true destiny, to go on that purpose-driven path. So today I chose Sheep Among Wolves. This was one of my first original spoken words. And this is based on just life and people that deal a lot of homelessness, people that deal with frightening hallucinations, trying to fend off people that don't have their best interests. And sometimes that can be really hard to do if you or they don't have an advocate or the tools that they need to heal trauma from their childhood that they never were able to properly deal with. So coming from the front lines, I'm going to read you Sheep Among Wolves, an original by Nurse Ann. Let me know what you think in the comments. Sheep among wolves. Alone on the street, a sheep among wolves. A girl's gotta eat, so what can she do? She begs you for money when you pass by her way. You just look at her funny as you go about your day. It must be her fault. She did something wrong. But you don't know the short or the long. Her mom's on drugs. Her dad's not around. The girl grew up with no toys and no hugs. Hey, you. Open your eyes. Check your heart. You think you know truth, but believe your own lies. So wake up. Look around. It's about time we do our part. And this is also a devotional. And I took some of the verses. Proverbs 31 reminded us that we can open our mouths and speak up for the cause of people that are dealing with a lot of these afflictions and plead for the cause of the poor and needy. In Psalm 82:3 says to defend the poor and the fatherless, to help do justice to the afflicted and needy. And there's a lot more verses that go along with this. But the devotional part says that as a nurse on the front lines of emergency and mental health, I see many people struggling with mind battles. Are you struggling with any mind battles? Homelessness, drug addiction, and so much more. And unfortunately, most of these lives have had their innocence stolen by trauma and abuse. It's deplorable to see someone without any safe shelter or food. Yet at the same time, these lost sheep try to manage frightening hallucinations taking over their mind while attempting to fend off ravenous, predatory wolves. And that can be just how it is on the street in their surroundings. People try to take advantage of them when they're struggling. And so one of my trauma-informed care heroes is Mother Teresa. And I am greatly inspired how she and her crew combed the dirty streets and picked up those who had been tossed aside due to illness, poverty, and even those dying a lonely and painful death. Theirs was a life dedicated to helping the ostracized and stigmatized have some moments of peace, dignity, and love amid a society that was content to throw them away. I know we can't always give money for many reasons, but it can go a long way to offer eye contact, listening, ear, prayers, and just general empathy and compassion. Unfortunately, many of these traumatized individuals have not experienced respect or kindness their whole lives. So I pray that as we go, the grace and mercy will move us to show compassion in action and speak life. As I said, as a nurse on the front line, I do see a lot of people, especially if they're caught up in a life of trauma or abuse, having mental illness and or being homeless. And sometimes they can just feel really isolated, and they are, and people just walk by them, maybe sometimes assume it's their fault, not knowing what trauma, abuse, and pain that they've been through and never got the proper help. And it's not that easy to just figure out life if you've been through that. And I also recently released the Ignite Life Poetry Devotional, reminding us that as you go, to dare to inspire and bless everyone in your path. And it reminds us that the life stories that we encounter daily are filled with struggle, triumph, joy, sorrow, self-doubt, and everything in between. So challenge yourself to discover these stories and ignite passion and potential for your own journey, along with mutual encouragement for others. So I chose a couple in here, and the one is kind of on the lines of the other one. These were both inspired by my fictional drama, which we'll get into in a minute, that does highlight mental health struggles, also the struggles of us and the frontline workers and our own inner thought battles and relationship drama. So we'll get into that in a minute. So this one I wrote is called Street Survivors by Nurse Ann from my Ignite Life Poetry Devotional. Link at my website, nurseann.com. I wrote nurseann.com in the description. And you can also see on the tabs where I bring these to life, videos of them doing my spoken words, along with a lot of other videos to help you with body, mind, and spirit, help you and those that you care about. So that's at nurseann.com. That's Ann with an E. Inspirational wellness for you. Follow this channel, share it. So Street Survivors. Cold, dark, concrete. Stomach full of hunger. How do I survive or warm my bare feet? Danger and fears surround me like fog. The sun batters down, advancing my years. Is all this my fault? Did I deserve the abuse? My childhood was flawed. I feel of no use. And that's how people can feel actually when they dealt with all that trauma. So trauma-informed care is just a way of, it does have definite principles to follow, but it's also a way in life of looking at others through the lens that we don't know what people have been through and are still trying to deal with. Even people, could be you, could be others that we encounter or take care of, that haven't had the tools to heal and need a lot of help. And you know what? Trauma-informed care implores us to look past the exterior and quell our judgment. What has this person endured? Do they have the tools to heal? Can we show compassion in action? And I was inspired. The devotional on Isaiah 25:4 reminds us God can be a strength to the poor. Even we can be a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in distress, a refuge from the storm, a shadow from the heat, when the blast of the terrible ones is a storm against the wall. Being homeless, having trauma or whatever, just trauma in your brain, and even not a lot of support. You can feel like life is always attacking you and coming at you. So check out the precepts of trauma-informed care and be an advocate for others. And I also picked another one from my Ignite Life Poetry devotional, and it's called Single Parent, as this is applicable also. So I'm going to read this, a quick one, and then we're going to get to that icing on the cake, the bonus soon. Single parent. Mom, and it could be dad or grandmother, whoever, is doing this alone, always at work. Kids have to reach her only by phone. The job, the chores, no time to relax or even be bored. Sometimes in this world, it seems like the norm. We need others to assist, to guide, and to form. Yes, I know it's not your job. My kids are my own. But I appreciate any help as I nurture my home. And the devotional part reminds us that friends, family, neighbors, and after-school programs can be a great blessing to help shape the lives of our future generation and provide support to overburdened caretakers. Thanks to all who undergo this endeavor in spite of your own busy lives. And Psalm 68:5 reminds us, a father to the fatherless and a judge of the widows is God in his holy habitation. So prayers for yourself, prayers for others to get that help. And I hope that we can be, as we go, we can show that compassion in action. I picked one more from another devotional I wrote, Word Puzzles Devotional. This is interesting words, maybe unique and different words linked to, once again, everyday life and inner thought struggles, along with relevant biblical prescriptions, because I want you to get your dose and help others of wisdom and inspiration for you and to help others overcome and thrive. It's hope and new light for your life journey. And once again, medicine for your soul. So what I chose today from Word Puzzles Devotional, link at the website, is Sentinel. This is an A to Z devotional, and I picked from the letter S is Sentinel. What does Sentinel mean? It means to guard, keep, watch, protect, defend, advocate. Are you an advocate? Do you need one for yourself? Unfortunately, there's no shortage of bullies. They invade school, work, home, countries, in every area that you can think of. Psalm 82:3 prompts us to defend the cause of the weak and the fatherless, to look out for the needs of the poor and the oppressed. And James also continues this plea to help orphans and widows in distress, and just anybody going through a life of trauma and abuse, not having mentors or advocates. This world contains billions of those in need, and the task can seem overwhelming. Thankfully, we do have that heavenly advocate. So one step, one person at a time, we can, you can be a part of the solution. Be a sentinel and advocate. In one of my published fictional drama, it's a 6-part series that I'll show you in a minute. Book 5 is titled The Mental Files Defenders of the Weak. And you're going to encounter individuals and groups being bullied and harassed, placing them in danger. And some of the tormentors are trying to keep their comfortable status quo lifestyles. Meet the frontline workers who attempt to rescue those in crisis. And you're going to meet them in a minute. Mental, physical, and spiritual, with help from a God who is able. And I pray that your advocacy on behalf of others will also return to you in your time of need. That cycle of helping others. I hope that does return to you. We're going to get onto that, but first I'll show you really quick. I also have Inspiration Battles Devotional. This is biblical medicine for real life and soul searching with a dose of encouragement. Because you know what? The battle to stay inspired can be overwhelming at times. So Inspiration Battles Devotional. One more is Energize Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit by Nurse Ann. As I said, our body, mind, our mental health, physical health, spiritual health work together in synergy. So let's jump on now to the end, the bonus, the prize. This is, as I said, a 6-part drama series that I created in my free time as a busy nurse so that you can see what people go through in mental and emergency crisis in the community, the church, the families, also the frontline workers. They deal with their own internal thought struggles and their relationship drama. You're going to ride along with him on this series, but you will have to buckle up because this action is 24/7. So to make it easier, and really it's almost free, I put it in one book. It's the Mental Files First 6 Stories Edition by Nurse Ann. Link on the website. You do want to ride along with these frontline workers. And this book is this series is full of danger, action, suspense, romance, faith, and inspiration. And since we don't always have time to read, I did turn it into an audiobook. And this is what it looks like on Audible and iTunes. It's the Mental Files First 6 Stories Edition. And it was narrated by Drama Simpson. He really brought this to life with siren noises, so much action. You feel like you're right there in the action with these frontline workers, the police, the caseworker, the nurses, paramedics, doctors, church, family, community, and so much more. So you want to check that out. It's full of action, adventure, and advocacy. The Mental Files First 6 Stories Edition by Nurse Ann. So as I promised, we're actually in book 3 now. We finished book 1, which was Sheep Among Wolves, where you did meet the young lady living on the street, fending for herself, while dealing with frightening hallucinations. So we finished that book, and you can go to the nurseann.com website. There's a Patreon and a podcast tab where you can actually hear the story from the beginning. And before and or after each podcast, we break it apart as it relates to your own life and see what other people go through. And the second book we finished was Dr. John Doe. You met the elderly man running in traffic, screaming he was a doctor. We talked about dementia and awareness for that in that book, along with the frontline workers, danger and action. And A Tent Under the Bridge, we'll get into that. And then the next one is Defenders of the Weak. Deal with people having anxiety, being bullied, how they help each other. And the next one is Ready, Willing, and Able. We talk about the spectrum, autism, and different disabilities, and how people can actually tap into their own talents regardless of a disability and be the hero in the lives of others. And then the season finale, this is written to be a television drama with your help. This is Mental Files Out of Control. We deal with addiction, relapse, entitled patients, the culmination of the relationship, which you'll see on this series, and just so much more. It's so exciting. Well, let's jump into, so you can go, the Mental Files, A Tent Under the Bridge. You met the lady living under the bridge. She went to a store. She got caught doing something she shouldn't. She had a choice of going to the emergency room or jail, and she picked the ER. So we went along with her to the ER. Then you got to hang out last episode with the officer and his buddies at their after work hangout, because he's contemplating a big decision, and got some advice on that. So this one is called, chapter 7 is called Psych Consult. So we're back in the ER with Abigail, the lady that got caught, got sent to the ER because she said she was going to hurt herself because she really just wanted time to think of a different plan before having to go to jail. She wanted to get back to her tent under the bridge so her belongings didn't get stolen. So she's in the ER. They ordered a psychiatric consult for her since she said she wanted to hurt herself, even though she didn't mean it. She's still playing along with the game to try to figure a way to get out of this mess. So Abigail did her best to convince the psychiatric liaison team that she would be safe if they let her go. Of course, after she weaved an interesting tale to avoid being sent to jail. The unexpected answer from the team made her nervous. Abigail, replied the consulting practitioner, I talked with my team and we decided on 2 options for you. What 2 options? She demanded. Well, scenario 1 is you allow us to have the social worker help you find suitable housing, started the professional. Suitable housing, fumed the angry tent dweller. You all know that's going to be some roach-infested room in the gang zone. Scenario number 2, continued the psych professional, we will admit you to the mental health unit to be stabilized. What do you mean, stabilized? Retorted Abigail as her voice continued to rise. You told the triage officer and the triage nurse that you wanted to harm yourself, came the answer. Knowing that she was stuck by her choices, she quickly considered the options. If she let them work on housing, she would be stuck in the emergency room while waiting anyway. It would be a terrible placement as usual, she thought. There was no easy way out of this. There was no way that she was about to go to another rundown apartment where she was afraid to sleep at night. She actually felt safer in her private space, her own tent with some of her neighbors under the overpass bridge looking out for her. I guess I'll get admitted, she resigned, as long as I can go voluntary and not be committed. She remembered how long she had to stay whenever she was sent involuntary. Plus, she planned to try to be discharged by the morning anyway. She would find a way. After the psych team informed Nurse Kylina of the plan, the ER nurse prepared her patient for admission. And that's the end of chapter 7. The next is chapter 8, Confidant. And that's where you're going to ride along with the officer. He's still ruminating on how to make this big decision, and he's going to try to get some help for that decision. So I'm going to see you on the next nurseann.com podcast. Follow, subscribe to this. Leave a comment today about different aspects of trauma-informed care, maybe something you're going through or helping someone through. Share it with someone who needs this. And I'll see you next time for the action, adventure, advocacy, and awareness. See you there.